Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hey, let's take a trip around the curve. Award season wrapped up this weekend with the NAACP Image Awards and the GLAAD Awards. Hosted by Queen Latifah, the NAACP Awards saw The Color Purple top the night and saw Usher take home Entertainer of the Year. Fantasia Barrino also took home an award for Outstanding Actress in a Motion Picture, with her co-stars Coleman Domingo and Taraji P. Henson winning in their respective categories. Quinta Brunson continued to get accolades for her work on Abbott Elementary, winning the award for Outstanding Actress in a Comedy Series. Mike Epps won the award for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series for his work. The Color Purple swept the fashion categories on Friday night. Thursday night, Ava DuVernay won for directing Origin. Corey Jefferson repeated his Oscar win for American Fiction. Saturday, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was named Best Animated Film, while Brother was named Best International Movie, and Creed 3's Mila Davis Kent won for Outstanding Youth Performance in a Motion Picture. Also taking home awards were Jennifer Hudson and Sherry Shepherd for their respective talk shows. Legendary R&B crooner Frankie Beverly of Maze was given the Lifetime Achievement Award, and the cast of Bridgerton and their leading lady was honored as well. Congratulations to all of the nominees and the winners. At the 35th Annual GLAAD Media Awards, the winners included Ted Lasso, Yellow Jackets, RuPaul's Drag Race, and Renee Rapp. Succession's Ariane Moayed and Carmen Ejogo joined Fountain of Youth for Apple and Skydance. The 20th Annual New African Film Festival opens March 15th and runs through March 28th, featuring 26 films from 16 countries by AFI and Africa World Now Project. Omar Sy, Louis Leterrier, and Thomas Binsky launched film and TV outfit Carousel Studios. Kiwi Kwan 87 North Universal action movie With Love sets a winter 2025 release. Ty Burrell is returning to ABC with a brand new pilot order for Forgive and Forget. IATSE receives a solidarity pledge from the global entertainment unions as contract talks begin. Juliette Binoche is appointed the new president of the European Film Academy, and South by Southwest Film and TV Festival announced their 2024 jury and special awards this weekend. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 going earlier in Helmer's South Korea homeland. The Bear creator Christopher Storer is set to adapt and create Amor Towles' The Lincoln Highway for Warner Brothers. Nat Geo unveils screeners for a new docuseries Photographer set to premiere March 18th, and TCM announces a new original limited series 2 for 1 that features 12 nights of double features curated and hosted by Ben Mankiewicz, joined by Steven Spielberg, Patty Jenkins, and Spike Lee. Today on The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, I will be chatting with the casts of Shirley on Netflix and One Life, plus reviews of those films and Michael Keaton's directorial feature, Knox Goes Away, Remembering Gene Wilder, and Roadhouse, coming up next, right now. Kelly Lynch was supposed to play the lead in the 1989 version of Roadhouse, but she did play the lead in the 1989 version of Roadhouse, but she wasn't supposed to. It was originally supposed to be Annette Bening. Red was a member of Elvis Presley's Memphis Mafia, and in the original Roadhouse, Red West played Red Webster, the auto parts store owner in the movie. He was part of Elvis's crew. All of the actors, Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze, did their own stunts. And yeah, that's it. This version of Roadhouse stars Jake Gyllenhaal, and in addition to seeing it for nostalgia's sake, because you want to see what they did with this remake, you want to see it because of Jake Gyllenhaal and his abs. I'm just saying, it is crazy. It deals with Dalton, who was an ex-UFC fighter who is trying to escape his dark past and his penchant for violence. In this film, Dalton is barely scraping by on his reputation where his violence precedes him. And he is spotted by Frankie, who's played by Jessica Williams. It was nice to see her. She's the owner of the Roadhouse in the Florida Keys where this film takes place. And she hires Dalton to be her bouncer in hopes of stopping a violent gang who's working for a crime boss played by Billy Magnuson from destroying her beloved bar. Now, even 5-1, Brant, who's played by Billy Magnuson, can't match Dalton's skills. He just takes down everybody with one fell swoop, and it's crazy. But the stakes get higher and higher with the arrival of this ruthless gun for hire Knox, who's played by Conor McGregor, who his body is insane and his skills are insane too. And as the brutal brawl and the bloodshed escalates, the tropical keys prove more dangerous than anything Dalton ever faced in the octagon. Now, again, I said this was a remake of a Patrick Swayze hit. It's lots of blood, lots of action. There's lots of comedy. It's actually very funny, but it seriously is all about Jake Gyllenhaal's abs, who is my boyfriend in my head. This is going to hit on Prime Video on March 21st. Knox Goes Away is going to be in theaters, is in theaters as of March 15th. It's a Saban Films joint. It's directed and starring Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton plays this hitman who's attempting to make an amends with lots of people in his life before his recently discovered dementia diagnosis takes over. He's aided by his trusted friend, played by Academy Award winner Al Pacino, with his own shady past, and Knox finds himself racing against the police in his own rapidly deteriorating mind to save his estranged son from a vengeance-fueled mistake. Now, what happens is I can't tell you what his son does, but Michael Keaton's character Knox finagles everything in a way where his son ends up not having to spend his any time in jail. The action sequences are bloody bananas. I love the scene with him and Marcia Gay Harden where he goes to tell her he's going to cash out, meaning he's not only going to cash out all of his money, but he's going to cash out because his mind is going to cash out. And it's a scene that brilliantly reminds you of why these two Academy Award winners, when you see their name in any title, whether it is on television or in a feature film, you run to see them because they're just magnificently brilliant. And Michael Keaton, if you happen to watch this, I'm still waiting on my Rembrandt, just saying. But I have a crush on Michael Keaton too. He's my boyfriend in my head too. And so the last thing I want to say about it is that it is a film that puts a really big spotlight on dementia and how rapidly, in some instances, it can progress. But it also shows a man's love for his son, a man's love for his ex-wife, even though they may not have gotten along, and how gentle friends and family can be when they know that you are in that situation. I was also beginning to talk about One Life, which is a Bleecker Street joint. It was released in theaters as of yesterday. It's directed by James Hawes and it's based on this book called If It's Not Possible by Barbara Hinton. Now, Barbara Hinton is related to Nicholas Hinton, which this film is based on. And Nicholas Hinton was a young London broker who helped rescue hundreds of predominantly Jewish children in Czechoslovakia in a race against time before Nazi occupied Poland and closed the borders on the verge of World War II. Are you with me so far? Okay, great. So 50 years later, Nicky, who's played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, is haunted by the fate of those he wasn't able to bring to safety. Nicky Hinton saved over 600 people right before Hitler invaded Poland. Do you know how many people? That's like he was like the Jewish Harriet Tubman. He saved so many people, and those people have children, and so their children are bringing this lineage down from generation to generation to generation. And what's crazy about it is that two of the actresses in the film also had relatives that did something very similar during that time in history. But before I get to this interview with the cast of One Life, I want to tell you that one of the things that this film does is that it tells you about the resilience of people when they have humanity. That is the big lesson from this film. The resilience of people when they have humanity, and how one person can make a difference for hundreds of people. When I did this interview with Oscar winner Helena Bonham Carter, I she shared a poem with me by a poet named Nikita Gill. You won't hear the poem in the interview because something weird happened with the audio and the video, but I'm going to read it to you. This poem says, "Tell your daughters how you love your body. Tell them how they must love theirs. Tell them to be proud of every bit of themselves, from their tiger stripes to the soft flesh of their thighs, whether freckles cover their face or not, whether their curves are plentiful or slim, whether their hair is thick, curly, straight, long, or short. Tell them how they inherited their ancestors' souls in their smiles, that their eyes carry countries and breathe life into history." This film also shows the tenacity and bravery of women during a time where women were not expected to show up and show out, but they did. And this is the thing, there is no progress without sacrifice. There is no progress without sacrifice. Nikki Hinton lived to be 106 years old. The story is beautifully told. And there is a clip from that iconic moment that we speak about in the interview on YouTube that has up to now 43 million views. There is a hero inside of everyone. They just have to decide when they have the courage to let it unleash. And with that said, take a look and a listen to this interview with director James Hogg, Ramala Garai, and Helena Bonham Carter from the Bleecker Street film, One Life.
Hi, Carla. I'm James. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You know, when I watched this movie, I literally was so taken aback that I needed a few minutes to compose myself before heading home, which means you did your job.
Good. You did yours too. That's just the reaction we need. Yeah.
Aww. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the clip of the talk show, and when he realizes that he's in the audience with all of the people that he saved. How difficult was it for you to get that together? Because I understand some of the real people were involved in that, as well as some extras, right?
Well, in the audience, we had the children, as many as we could, of the real children that were saved in 1939. So when the presenter says, "If anybody here owes their life to Nicholas Winton, please stand," the guys that stand really do. And next time you watch the movie, you look at the row just behind where Anthony Hopkins is sat. There's a family there of 3 sisters and a brother in their 50s, I guess. I'm not sure of their ages, but the emotion on their faces, right through the telling of the story, up to the moment that Sir Anthony turns around to greet them, is so powerful. It's like they're meeting Nicky Winston for real. It's not like a crowd of extras. It's so deep-seated. It was a difficult scene today to shoot on that day, only because of the emotion in the studio. There was not a dry eye.
Yeah, there wasn't a dry eye in the theater of the people that I watched it with either. It was very powerful and very emotional. So thank you for that. Talk to me a little bit about securing Sir Anthony and Helena for this film, because I'm sure they're not easy gets.
No, and in fact, you see, the story with Sir Anthony was that Barbara Winton, Nicky's daughter, handed over the rights, saying to the producers, "But you have to get Anthony Hopkins to play my father," which is a big ask of producers. Just go get us one of the greatest living actors of all time.
Right?
Yeah. So she wrote him a personal letter. We then go through the process of sending him the script, and then I went to meet with him, and we had a fantastic breakfast in LA. We kept talking. We discovered that we had a lot in common. Apart from anything else, we're both Celts. He's Welsh, I'm Cornish. I think that was a bond we quite liked. And of course, he'd worked with Helena 35 years before on Howard's End. I'd worked with Helena before on a TV movie called Enid about the children's writer, Enid Blyton. And the interesting thing about Helena is that her family shares a lot of the heritage of Nicky Winton's family.
I found out that you have pretty much a very similar journey to Nicholas Winton in terms of having family that you have family members that helped save Jews during World War II. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I had, my grandfather.
So how did that resonate with you as you were shooting this film? Was it difficult for you? Did you have moments, particularly in Prague, where you just kind of felt like, wow, I'm so glad that I'm a part of this project right now?
I felt definitely chills, and I felt like I'm so close to them, to my ancestors, my grandfather, and all my aunts and my uncle. As soon as I put the clothes on too, because I come from very Austrian, European, Jewish ancestry. So my aunts and my uncles and even my mum, I mean, people who've watched it go like, oh, you're playing your mom or your grandmother or your, the whole lot of them came in to have a play. And then my grandfather, I knew I had to do it for him. I do think we carry around our ancestors inside us. First of all, we wouldn't be here without them.
That part.
But then getting to know them, you go like, I've got to sort of carry on. Our bodies are, we've got the body. So we got to use those bodies to carry on what they did on some level. And so it's his story, my grandfather's story as well. Thank you, darling. Who was, like Winton, incredibly modest. Wouldn't talk about it. Buried it all. Took his son, who lives in America, to really unearth what he'd done and make sure he was recognized at Yad Vashem. So it's with pride. There's a quote. There's a Nikita Gill poem. Do you know Nikita Gill? It's called.
I do not. I'm not familiar.
We have to carry all the people who came before us.
Bobby was such a strong, proud, determined woman who was the backbone for Nicky with his activism. What lessons are you hoping that audiences take away from watching her tenacity through your portrayal of her?
First of all, I wish that I'd seen more mother-son relationships that are quite as dynamic as theirs. It's unusual. and I just hope that Winton and what he did, both, and I always stress it was a team, that it's a real lesson for that we can all. He was an everyman. He was a stockbroker. There was only just personal choice in this to actually get up and do something and put their heads together and have the chutzpah and work it out. And it was her, I think it was her saying, if nothing's impossible, nothing's impossible. So I think in this time when there's just so much craziness all over the world, that, he was a truly dynamically kind person who got so much done. And I think when watching it, you go, oh, amidst all this absolute terror and horror and people killing each other and massacre and intolerance, maybe, kindness can have a role and we can actually get things done. It is a very empowering message.
Nice to meet you. Your work was exceptional in this film. I really, really enjoyed watching you. But I was curious about, Da'Vine Joy Randolph, who just won the Oscar for The Holdovers, talked to me a lot about collaborating with all of the departments on how she looked to craft her character. And I just wanted to know if you had that same experience with this film, because, it takes place through a very definitive time that's not contemporary. So I was just wondering what that experience was like for you.
When you have a positive experience like I did on this film, you collaborate with costume and hair and makeup design and production design in a really enjoyable way. And we had incredible conversations, like, because Doreen Warrener left loads and loads of letters and a diary of her time in the war, I was able to go, well, I know that she was having her hair done twice a week. So, she was having her hair done frequently, even though we think, oh, she's running around to, refugee camps all the time. And she's very, so you have that kind of, because you've done a lot of research, you also have that detailed understanding of the character that you can share with the wider team, and it can be a really enjoyable collaborative experience.
I know that your paternal and please correct me if I'm wrong, your paternal grandfather was a Hungarian Jew
Yeah.
immigrant. Did this hit you different, knowing that you come from that kind of lineage? Did doing this story hit you a little different?
I think it was maybe more when I was in Prague, when I was filming the scenes on the railway station where there were, the hundreds of these little children, extras dressed up in the costumes, and we were filming the scene of the evacuation on the real platform where it really happened. So it became a kind of reenactment of that event. I think I did find that very difficult. I found it emotionally very difficult to get through those days. And perhaps, you have a greater sense of it when you've grown up with those stories.
Oh, Miss Helena, I loved talking to you. I wish I had so much more time. I have so many other things I would love to discuss with you, but I'll catch you some other time on another project, hopefully.
I hope so too. You look great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So do you. Thanks so much. Bye. I loved talking to her, and I have a clip up on my Instagram that I didn't include in this interview, but you'll see it when I post the full interview of her and I on YouTube, where she tells me some things about serotonin and the color pink. So again, you guys, that is called One Life. It is in theaters right now. It opened, I believe, as of yesterday. Let me just make sure I'm saying the right thing. I don't want to give you the wrong information. It's a Bleecker Street film. And yes, it opened yesterday. It's only in theaters as of yesterday. Gene Wilder is somebody growing up that I loved growing up, mostly because I was obsessed with him and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and all the Mel Brooks films that he did, Blazing Saddles. What was it? Was it Frankenstein? No, what was it called? Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. He was in the film version of The Producers long before Matthew Broderick long before Matthew Broderick got to Broadway with it. They did that. So this is a documentary called Remembering Gene Wilder. It opened in New York City this weekend on the 15th. It will be opening in Los Angeles in theaters on the 22nd. It's directed by Ron Frank, and it is a Kino Lorber film, and it is a documentary. And what it does is it celebrates the life and the legacy of Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was so funny. And it talks about those roles that I just spoke about. And Blazing Saddles, ironically enough, is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2024. But he also did a lot of films. He did about 3 or 4 films with Richard Pryor. My favorite one was the first one that they did together called Silver Street. And they talk about the strange and magical role of Willy Wonka. There's a lot of intimate moments from his private life, including him growing up with the Jewish heritage in Milwaukee, marrying Gilda Radner from Saturday Night Live, and his final chapter with Alzheimer's. This documentary, Remembering Gene Wilder, reminds us of what an essential performer, writer, and director he was. He was so brilliant. It's always so interesting to me when we have artists that have such brilliant comedic minds find themselves in a situation where their minds are being challenged, especially when they're quick. We saw that happen with Robin Williams when he took his life by suicide. And we saw it happen with Gene Wilder when he got diagnosed with dementia. But his humor and his warmth and his effortless charisma is universally appealing. One of the things that I loved about this documentary is that they tell the story about his entrance scene in the Willy Wonka movie, how they wanted him to just come in and be crippled with this cane. And while they were rolling it on camera, Gene Wilder came up with the idea of just looking like he was going to fall and then did a forward roll into the cane. It was freaking brilliant. And I thought, like everybody else, that was something that was in the script or he was directed to do, but no, that was something of his own making. And the other thing that I learned finding out about is there's this very intimate scene toward the end of the movie where Charlie and his uncle talk to Willy Wonka about not getting the golden ticket. And Gene Wilder is screaming in this little boy's face, and the little boy is interviewed in the film, and he talks about that moment. He said that they did not know that he was going to do that. So his reaction and the way they were feeling and looking at each other in that film was real, because they had no idea he was going to come sideways at them like that. But again, you guys, it's currently playing in New York, so check your local listings there to find out where it is playing at a theater in New York City. It will be playing in Los Angeles on March 22nd, and I'm not sure if it's going to get a nationwide release, but if it does, I will be sure to let you know about it. Representative Shirley Chisholm is legendary, and John Ridley, Academy Award winner John Ridley, has taken on the mantle of writing and directing a project about her, starring Regina King, her sister Reina King, Terrence Howard, the late Lance Reddick, Christina Jackson, and Lucas Hedges. And it tells the story of Shirley Chisholm, who was our first Black Congresswoman, and she was a political icon. She trailblazed it for women to run for president of the United States, and it chronicles her audacious, boundary-breaking 1972 presidential campaign. So this entire film centers around how she got into Congress and what happened once she got to Congress and decided to run for president. This film has wonderfully poignant and great performances. The script is a little slow paced, but you know, that can happen with these types of projects. And this is the second project we're seeing this year, right on the heels of Rustin, which was also a Netflix film about Bayard Rustin. And we watched Coleman Domingo be awarded and lauded and applauded for his role as Bayard Rustin in that film. One thing that stuck out to me is that Shirley Chisholm says she wasn't a candidate of Black America. She wasn't a candidate of the women's movement, which she was heavily involved in. She wasn't even a candidate of any political movement or special interest. She said, I am the candidate of the people of America. And I think that's really important to note in an election year, that we had somebody in 1972 that was speaking that way. And, you know, like I always say, women get it done, period. Don't matter what color they are. Women just get it done. Which brings me to my next point. The white males in her life at that time, they were in fear of change. So they didn't want to help her succeed. They didn't want to help her thrive. Even the Black men didn't want to help her thrive. Men just weren't having a woman being in any kind of position at that time. But she was a good one, because when they were trying to thwart her from doing a debate on network television, she sued the network. And so that they would let her participate in televised debates. And that's just funny to me, because we have somebody now who shall remain nameless who refuses to show up for a debate, and he gets away with that. But in 1972, a Black woman had to sue for the right to participate in a debate, but we have somebody else who's not trying to even show up for a debate. I just want that to sink in with you, the privilege and the craziness that is. I love that Regina does such a wonderful job with this character, and this real life woman in her life. And my favorite scene in the whole movie is a scene with her and her sister, played by Reina. Her sister's name was Muriel. And in real life, Shirley Chisholm had 3 sisters, but she had one that was particularly jealous of her, Muriel. And because Muriel thought that Shirley thought she was special and was kind of jealous that nobody thought she was special. That is the furthest thing away from what Reina and Regina's real life sisterhood is. But to watch them play that out on screen was brilliant. They were so good, both of them. I mean, people really need to be aware of how wonderful of an actress Reina King is, because she's the ish. Equality to men oftentimes feels like chaos for them, not for us, but for them. And a lot of men backstab Shirley Chisholm on her way to getting things done. Even though Shirley Chisholm is no longer here, she paved the way for Barbara Lee, who is played by Christina Jackson in the film. She paved the way for Hillary Clinton. She paved the way for any and every woman in America who has decided to run for an elected office. So all of these women should literally thank Shirley Chisholm at every given moment that they have to acknowledge that her presence in the political landscape paved the way for every local, national person that is of color, that is a woman in power, including on Capitol Hill. So having said all of that, now that I'm gonna get off my little soapbox, I want you to take a look and a listen to this interview that I did with the cast members, which include the star Regina King, her sister Reina King, Terrence Howard, Lucas Hedges, did I say Christina Jackson? And Christina Jackson. Here we go.
Reina, I can't. I cannot. I am so happy to see you, sisters. And this is my first time meeting and talking to you, Terrence. So,
wow.
Welcome to the party, honey.
Well, this is going to be wonderful.
Yes, it is. So, I just want to talk about something that resonated with me when I saw the film. We know that Arthur later on married Shirley, right? But we never see anything spoken about that in the film. And the one moment that I loved was when you guys hug and the camera closes in on your face and it's just your face showing that emotion. How do you feel that for someone like Arthur and her husband and Shirley's husband to be those type of men that have to stand by their woman? We hear the song Stand By Your Man, we hear Cater to You by Destiny's Child, but we never see it flipped on the other side, flipped on his head. So I just wanted to get, your sensibility on that.
Terrence, Lance are men that support women, and so the people behind the scenes, the people embodying these characters, brought an energy to it that I feel like helped me as playing Shirley tap into one of the things that was so important to us as filmmakers is the humanity. But it was important to show those relationships and the intimacy of them that speak to sex, but that intimacy is also strength, right?
Exactly.
And conversely, she does speak to how men don't support her, even with having, some supportive men in her life. Yeah.
Did either one of you want to speak to that?
Well, no. I all I can add is we've used the illustration of the sun before. In science, the feminine component of the electric field. The electric field is the contractive, considered the masculine, the breathing in. The expansive field, the radiative field, the magnetic field is the breathing out. That's the feminine side. Well, the sun takes up a small portion of our solar system. The magnetic field is what has created all the planets. The magnetic field is what extends out past the Oort cloud into the cosmos, that extends out the suns, allows the sun to shine. So as a male, you have to be that supportive center and allow the beauty of the magnetic field, the feminine, to expand and create all of the solar system and the rest of universal interaction. If you want to have a sustainable universe, we're just following what the universe has done.
You better be a deep. Okay.
You want me to say something after that?
Oh no. Do you?
No. I think it was just nailed. We went full circle here.
Yeah, we did. We totally did. I wish I had more time with y'all. I have so many more questions. Yeah. But I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this time to talk to you today about this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here with you guys in person. I think the last time I talked to you was for Devotion, and the last time I talked to you was for French Exit.
Oh, yes.
And you were asking me, let me know when you go on stage again. I went on stage again, and I forgot to tell you, but I'll tell you next time, I promise.
Okay, please do. There you go.
So you guys are inhabiting these young, strong people with such a sensibility of the world around them. How do you think that informed you as a person inhabiting the worlds of Robert and Barbara?
I think in learning the story about Barbara Lee, she had already been through so much by the time we reached 1972. She had a sense of who she was and how she moved in the world. She was already a mom, a student. She helps out with the Black Panther Party. she had a lot going on already. I think that chance meeting of her seeing a Black woman running for president and getting to that college campus and meeting Shirley in that conversation, I think it sparked something very beautiful and special. And I feel the parallel between a Shirley and a Barbara and me being able to work with somebody like Regina, who is so accomplished and so incredible, and just being able to have this energy between these two characters as these two performers in telling this story.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah. Why it was so easy for me to slip into this role was I was at a bit of a, I didn't really know where my life was going when I got asked to do it. And Robert is sort of, he's about to graduate college, and Shirley's somebody he really looks up to. So it was very easy for me to just step in and just follow somebody I believed in, you know? So that was, I literally hope I answered your question.
Listen, Lucas Hedges, you can never give me a wrong answer, because that's how we roll. You can never give me a wrong answer.
Yes.
Going into this about Shirley Chisholm, she is one of our unsung heroes in American history as a woman. What was the most surprising thing that you guys learned about her in taking on this project?
How funny she was, how real she was, how much she did not back down. Even when she gets to Congress and like, I want my position to be changed to a different, like, you're not gonna put me in agriculture. Let's just her, you know, just like how outspoken she was, and just seeing throughout the film, she's a thinking woman, and it never was about money. It never was about any of that. She did this because she could. That's the thing. She did it because she could. And I think that that's inspiring.
Yeah, I think for me it's like you hear stories about who certain great figures are in history, and you're like, oh, that's probably what that looked like. But knowing just how hard she worked, how long the campaign was, how many instances where she could have given up and stopped, but she pushed it all the way through, and so that to the point where she got everything she could out of her campaign. Like, I think it's just surprising when you understand how hard you don't become a legend for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, you earn it, and it was a lesson just seeing how she earned it. I guess maybe that's not as much surprising as much as it was just one of the things I learned.
A revelation.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I love watching both of you and your performances. It doesn't matter to me what movie it is, because your future is so bright.
Thank you.
It literally burns my eyes. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
so
darling.
much.
Likewise.
Appreciate it. See you soon.
Yes, of course, Lucas Hedges. I love messing with Lucas Hedges. I just love him. He's one of my favorites. Thank you, Christina Jackson, Lucas Hedges, Reina King, Regina King, Terrence Howard, Helena Bonham Carter, James Hawes, and Romola Garai for giving me your time and giving me interviews for your projects, One Life and Shirley, respectively. Shirley will be seen streaming on Netflix only beginning on March 22nd. When I come back next week, I'm going to talk to the cast. Not next week, but in the next couple of weeks, I will be speaking with the cast of Star Trek Discovery, including my good friend Wilson Cruz. I will be reviewing a film called The Space Race. I will be talking to the cast of Borders. I will be talking to the cast of Godzilla Kong. I will be talking to the director and some of the subjects of the documentary Girl State. I will also be speaking with the cast of Black Mafia on BET. And I think that is about it. Yes. And that takes us into Palm Sunday. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for giving me your patience and your time with that snafu with the first 10 minutes of the sound being out, because I forgot to click the button. But if this is your first time joining me and you're watching this via YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you were here. Click the bell below for notifications so that you can subscribe to the channel. And if you want to see the written versions of any of my reviews, check them out
at the ticket down there. The curvyfilmcritic.com is where you can see the written version of every review that I give here on video. It's www.thecurvyfilmcritic.com. Again, www.thecurvyfilmcritic.com. Thank you guys so much for your time and your energy. I know it's late on a Sunday. Thank you, Brandon, for always popping in and saying hello to me. I appreciate you more than words can say. Thank you, South Productions, for popping in and saying hello. And yes, I was very emotional watching One Life and the Shirley Chisholm project. So yes, you should watch the Shirley Chisholm project, especially if you don't know that much about her. You'll learn some really good things. It's a very informative, well done film. All right. So having said that, it's time for me to get out of here, y'all. Thank you so much. Love, peace, and hair grease. Until the next time. Deuces.